Namaskar. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Indian AdGeek. My name is Vishal Mehra. Today we will have Kunal Jeswani, CEO of Ogilvy ASEAN, on the Indian AdGeek. Kunal is recognized as one of the region's leading voices in creative communications, having recently taken on the role of CEO for Ogilvy's ASEAN operations after successfully leading Ogilvy Singapore and Malaysia, and previously serving as the CEO of Ogilvy India. With over 2 decades in the industry, he has partnered with global giants like Unilever, Mondelez, Nestle, Vodafone, and BMW, and has played an important role in landmark campaigns. Under Kunal's leadership, Ogilvy Singapore was named the #1 creative agency in Asia in the Cannes Lions Creativity Report and Creative Agency of the Year at the 2025 Singapore Creative Circle Awards. Welcome to the Indian AdGeek, Kunal.
Hi, Vishal. Lovely to chat with you. I'm glad we're doing this.
Let's start with your love affair with the industry. How did you and advertising happen, Kunal?
Look, it's a long story, and it happened very much by design. Um, but I'll tell you the whole story and the real reason why I'm in the industry. When I was in college, I used to really enjoy doing theater. Okay, that was my one enduring passion throughout my school and college years. And I was really fortunate um, at that time to get a role in a play called Laran Sahib, which had Raul de Cunha directing it, and it had a bunch of people, really fun cast, great production crew. Um, and I think we spent about a year and a half on that production. We traveled extensively, and I had a really good time. And I remember at that time, Raul de Cunha himself was in advertising, and there were a couple of other people in the cast and crew who were in the advertising business. And I thought, wow, if these guys can get time off from work and still do theater and stuff, it must be a fun profession to be in, and it obviously has, time for you to do, other pursuits in life that you're passionate about. So maybe I should give this a shot. And at that time, there was a school that had just opened in Ahmedabad called MICA, which was the Mudra Institute for Communications in Ahmedabad. And they were starting their first 2-year program in advertising. So post college, I applied for it, I got through, and I was really excited, and I decided to do that, right? And that kind of brought me into the world of advertising. It's a different matter that I didn't do any theater once I started work at all, which was really sad. I wish I'd continued on that path as well, but that journey brought me into advertising, and I'm deeply grateful for it.
Right. Kunal, you're now a well versed industry veteran. How has the role of a creative agency CEO evolved over the past decade, in your opinion? And what new skills are most critical today?
Every year in the advertising business has seen some form of change or evolution for me, right? When I started at Ogilvy, um, I started in 2005, and I was already fairly senior. I'd already been working for 9, 10 years in the business, and I was fortunate to get into Ogilvy at a position where I had my own team. I had a set of businesses I was working on, fabulous people around me, and I quite enjoyed my first few years. But I'd been doing account management for almost 10 years. And I spent another 4 or 5 doing it in Ogilvy before, I felt I wanted to try something different. And at that time, again, I was fortunate enough in the organization to ask for something that I wanted to try, and for the organization to say yes, we'll give you a shot, right? So at that time we had a really good strategy department, um, but it was all advertising strategy. We didn't have anyone running or building digital strategy, PR strategy, activation strategy. We had an out-of-home department at that time, so strategy for that team as well. And I asked if I could start that team and set it up. And at that time, Madhukar Sabnavis was was head of strategy for India, and he was again kind enough to allow me to experiment and do that. Right? And I enjoyed it. I did that for 2 years, and in doing that, my focus was heavily on the digital side of our business, which was Ogilvy One. Mm. And I enjoyed that. And then from there, I took over as the head of Ogilvy One for India, then chief digital officer, then CEO. Right. Now, in that journey, there were a lot of changes every year. Right. In the way my career evolved, in the challenges I had to face. Right. But Ogilvy India is an extremely strong organization with fabulous people, right? And I had the shelter of people like Piyush, like Madhukar, and I had the partnership of people like Hepzibah. At that time, we had Kinu, we had Rajiv, we had Kaval, Naveen, uh, a bunch of people, like really strong people, right? And I had the advantage of having really, really good partners to work with, right? So it wasn't, I don't think there was any year where I felt it was hugely difficult and challenging, right? From a career point of view. Once I took over as CEO, um, for me, there were three people who stood out as just fantastic in terms of helping me do the job, guiding me, mentoring me, and making sure I had the support of the organization across, right? And those were Piyush, Madhukar, and Heps, right? Heps is Piyush and Madhukar, of course, absolute stalwarts, and I had the opportunity to work with them and learn from them for many, many years. Um, um, but for me, I also had the benefit of learning from someone like Heps. Um, I always saw Heps as one of the most fantastic account management people in our business, and for me, every day with her was a learning experience throughout my time, even as CEO, right? On managing client relationships, managing quality of work, managing complex, really complex problems for clients. Your question for me was how much has the role changed? For me, the role is not an individual role, right? At least it wasn't in India, right? I felt that there was just so much support and so much partnership that I really didn't have to walk in on any single day feeling that I was alone in this, right? And to me, that was the most beautiful part of that time. I did not feel alone on a single day. I always felt I had fabulous partners, right? Um, and then there were people like VR and Hirol who are still in the system. VR is the current CEO, fabulous human being. Again, ability to take a tremendous amount of work and load and pressure and made my life a lot easier. And as CEO, right? Where it changed for me dramatically was when I took the shift to Singapore and Malaysia. Hmm. Because that was the first time I felt I didn't have that entire support structure around me. And in a sense, it helped me grow as well. Because there was a lot of new stuff that I had to do. There were new people that I didn't have relationships with, new clients that I didn't have relationships with, new culture, new brands, new challenges, right? So to me, that market shift was was a big shift for my career, right? And it helped me learn. Um, Not the skills of running the business because those were pretty much I was able to carry those forward from India to Singapore, right? Again, because it's the same organization, it's Ogilvy, it's part of WPP. So the way your financial stuff needs to move, the way you run a business, that doesn't change. You understand the metrics really clearly, right? What I needed really push from a personal growth perspective was new culture, new clients, new environment completely, right? And the second thing was learning to work with a completely multicultural team. In India, it was almost 100% Indian, right? From a culture perspective. In Singapore, we have, and this is a statistic that I talk about with a great deal of pride. We have people from over 20 nationalities in the office, right? And it's hugely challenging to work with people from that width of cultural differentiation, but it's also great fun, and I've really enjoyed that.
The other part of the question was what new skills are most critical today. But hearing you, I can sense your answer would have been to be a sponge and absorb as much as possible. In fact, let me try and expand my question. Okay. What does it take to lead creative excellence across diverse markets like India and ASEAN? And how do you foster a culture of innovation within large teams?
Again, I'm just going to come back to India for a second because I think that's important. That learning for me through my time in Ogilvy India is important. And for this, I'm going to credit Piyush almost entirely, right? Because if there's one thing I learned working with him, it's the value of great creative product in our business. Um, to me, there are three parts of this role, of the CEO role, in any agency and in any geography, whether it is India specific, whether it's Singapore, whether it's New York, whether it's six markets in ASEAN, doesn't matter, right? It's just three things that you need to focus on to run a great business. The first is the quality of your client relationships. And this is a function of existing relationships, old relationships, new business that you've just won, right? The strength and quality of your client relationships will determine your success in this business. And what I mean by that is, are you able to call your clients on a daily basis, on a weekly basis? Do you have that quality of relationship where you're able to pick up the phone and make a call and say, hey, how are you doing? Right? Is there anything I can help you with this week, this month, over the next 3 months, right? How's the business doing, right? How's our team doing? And if you're able to get an honest response, if you're able to have the quality of relationship where the person at the other end will pick up the phone and have a conversation with you saying, I trust you, and I'm going to have a conversation with you that is straight and tell you, hey, this is what we're doing well, this is what we're not doing well, this is what we need to do. The funny thing is, many of us in this business don't even have that quality of relationship with our clients. Right? We don't have them on the phone. We're not able to pick up the phone and say, "Hi, what's wrong?" Right? Or, "Hey, hi, what's right? What's going well?" Right? What do we celebrate together? So that means the first thing, the most important thing. Um, the second thing is the quality of your relationships with your own team, right? The quality of people you have in your own office and the quality of the relationships you share with those people. Um, we're a people business. We have nothing else at all. There is not a single product that we make that we can sell to clients or customers. All we have is people. We sell our people. That's our business, right? Now, if we don't have the best people in the business, high quality human beings who are able to do their job really well, if we're not able to attract them, if we're not able to retain them, if we're not able to motivate them to stay, if we're not able to build a culture as an organization that attracts and retains the best talent in the business, we will not succeed, right? So to me, the CEO's role is central to that. It's being able to build an environment where you attract and retain the best talent in the business. And at your leadership level, again, for you to be able to have the kind of relationship where you talk to people on a daily basis, a weekly basis, you understand the struggles they're going through, what the roadblocks they're facing in their journey on being able to deliver a great experience to clients, and to be able to clear those roadblocks, right? I always think of my job as someone who cleans shit, right? If my people have shit around them that needs to be cleaned for them to be able to service clients better, that's my job. If my clients have shit in the system that needs to be cleared for the client agency relationship to be stronger, that's my job. I need to get it out of the way, right? Now you can call it shit, you can call it obstacles, you can call it anything, but that's the primary role of the CEO. Is your client happy? Do you have a relationship where you can pick up the phone on them? Can you understand what they're struggling with? And are you able to remove those roadblocks? Do you have the best people? Are you able to talk to them and understand what they're struggling with in their effort to deliver the best service to their clients? And are you able to remove those roadblocks? Right. And the last part, the third lever, right? It's client relationships, it's your people, building a culture where you can attract and retain the best talent, having those conversations with people, removing obstacles. The last part is the financial side of the business, which is running a healthy business. As a CEO, if you don't understand the financials of the business really well, if you're not really clear about the metrics that keep your business healthy, and if you're not doing stuff on a month-to-month basis to make sure those metrics are in line, you're not doing your job, right? That's it. It's those three things.
You were just talking about taking care of people's mess. It reminds me of something. I was watching this podcast few days back, which featured Nick Khan. He's the president of WWE. Was talking about his leadership style, and I remember him saying that he encourages his people to tell him as soon as possible when they mess up, so he can help them clear it. And he said, I'm going to stand with my people, but if you don't tell me, then that becomes your problem. That becomes your mess to clear. So I do get what you're trying to say, and what you were trying to say earlier. Anyway, what's the biggest misconception? Excuse me. What's the biggest misconception people have about leading a creative agency?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what misconceptions people have, but the thing with the creative agency is, and leading the agency, right? Yeah, is your degree of influence on day-to-day work is always lower than you'd like it to be, right? Um, if anyone has the misconception, I don't know if they do, but if they do, if anyone has the misconception that as a leader of a creative agency, you're the most important person in the agency, the answer is absolutely not. You're not. The people who do the work are the most important people in the company, right? The people who actually do the work, not the managers, not the finance people who count the money and manage process and make sure everything is in line. They're important, but they're not the most important people in the organization. To me, the most important people in the organization are the people who do the work, the ones who are in front of clients on a day-to-day basis, who are pushing themselves every single day to do better work, to do work that makes the agency stand out, to do work that makes us all feel proud. They're the most important people in the company, right? And if there is anything I can do to make their day better, I will do it.
We were talking about clients and fostering relationships. Can you share a client experience that taught you, great lessons and valuable lessons about creativity and business impact?
I mean, there are many examples, but uh,
One that stands out for you, vividly, um, from your time in India, Singapore, Malaysia, current role, anything.
well, let's talk about a couple of clients, right? One, let's
Sure.
talk from a quality of work perspective, and one we can talk about from a quality of relationship perspective, right? Because I think they're both important. Um, on the quality of work, right? Look, again, a lot of my learning has been with Piyush, and I've seen him connect with clients in a way that I haven't seen in anybody else do creative account management at all, right? Um, and again, these examples are borrowed from other people. Mm. So I'm going to talk about Piyush and what I've seen in action and how that changes stuff for clients, right? Um, we can talk about Mondelez and we can talk about Pidilite, right? I'll talk about two clients, right? And in both cases, Um, There've been clients that have been with Ogilvy India for a very, very long time. And there have been clients where documented clients have spoken up saying a lot of their success has been due to the quality of the work that Ogilvy has produced. A lot of it Piyush has had a hand in, right? Pidlite have said it over and over again. Mondelez have said it over and over again over many years, right? Through the time where Piyush was pivotal on both clients. But the experience that I've seen, in my time as CEO, particularly the last 7 years, I got to spend a lot of time with Piyush at his house, in the office, and what struck me as the biggest learning moment for me was that whenever he had an idea, he would call the client in that moment or text the client in that moment, right? Whenever he had an idea linked to a client's business, whether it was based on a brief or not, um, in that moment, he would text the client or call the client and say, hey, I have an idea. Here it is. Now, that does two things. One, it tells the client who already feels that, hey, there is a history to our relationship. This agency has had a significant role in contributing to our growth. And as it's based on work done over many, many years across many, many brands, right? But when you do it in the moment, when you say, hey, I had an idea right now, and I'm going to text you right now, I'm going to call you right now and tell you I had this idea, right? Sometimes clients like the idea, sometimes they didn't. That wasn't important, right? The idea itself was not important. What was important was, I'm thinking about you, right? Giving clients that sense across the organization that there are random times in the day when I'm thinking about you and your brand, even if you haven't asked me to. And every time I think about you and every time I have an idea, I'm going to call you and tell you. Because I trust you as a partner to be able to pick up the phone and say, hey, I'm not waiting for a big presentation, for a big meeting 2 months down the line, not waiting for 100 slides, not waiting for scripts and big ideas. We have a partnership where I can call you right now and say, hey, I have an idea. What do you think? Right? That is magical. If you can get to that level with a client, right? And I've always tried learning from there to say, when I'm thinking of a client at any point, I should be able to pick up the phone. I shouldn't hesitate. I shouldn't feel shit. Is this idea good? Is it bad? Is it, will I be judged for it? Will a client like it? Will it not? Pick up the phone and call them and say, hey, I'm thinking of you right now. Here's the idea. What do you think? Right? um, Make trusting clients enough to table ideas with them without having finished them completely is a different level of quality of relationship, right? And I think it's magical if you can get to that point, and we did with many clients, right? Tata Motors, right? When which we got to a point in the relationship where it was pretty bad, right? Where we'd lost trust with the client, and we were in a space where the client didn't like us, we didn't like the client. Every project seemed painful, and just getting through the day, the week, the month on work with that client was getting really difficult.
This is the passenger car division.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, and at one point I was asked to get onto the business, and I don't even remember if I was asked to get on. I was just head of the office at that time or what, but I just stepped in. And I was able to have a conversation with that client um, to say, hey, listen, I'm here, right? And I have every intent to fix this, and I will do everything I can. I'll give you the best people in the organization, and we'll make this work, right? Because the intent for me is to turn the business around and for you to be happy and for us to be happy and for us to be doing great work together, right? But it needs to go both ways, right? As much as I will try to fix the relationship, I need to know that you want to fix the relationship as well, and you want it to get better. And I had a great client at that time, and she was nice enough to say, "Hey, listen, I will trust you on this, and I'll give you a little rope, and let's see where it goes. And I'm giving you my commitment as well, that I will try and make this relationship work." And I spent 2 years working on that relationship. It was really hard. It was really hard, right, to win trust back. Um, but what helped at that time was clarity of intent and clarity of shared goals, right? Just being able to have that conversation up front when you're in a tough spot and say, hey, listen, I want to fix this. Do you want to fix it as well? And just being able to say, hey, listen, I will pick up the phone on you and you pick up the phone on me when you're struggling with something. And let's not let it filter down to the teams. If there's an issue, you call me, I will fix it, right? If I have an issue, I will call you. Being able to have that grown-up conversation between two people to say, listen, we'll make this work, but let's stay close and let's just keep talking. And to be able to write out shared goals, saying, what do you want to achieve? What I want to achieve for the agency? What do you want to achieve for the business? Can we agree on 2 or 3 things and then track it every 3 months, every 6 months? Say, are we on track to deliver this or not? Right? And that's what I meant with, when we were talking earlier about being able to call up a client and having that degree of trust. Really shit relationships as well. Getting to a point where you're able to call one person in the organization, have a conversation both ways, right? When you give the client the freedom to say, hey, listen, it stops with me, right? You call me and I will fix it. Hmm? Um, and when you're able to tell, if I have an issue, I will call you, right? And you sort it out. It doesn't come easy. It takes time. You have to listen really hard, understand the issues, and really work at making it better. But you can, right? So those were two really important learning experiences for me.
Kunal, is there a difference between leading a creative team in India versus Southeast Asia? And how do you adapt your leadership style?
Well, look, every market is different. Every single market is different. Every human being you interact with is different, right? Um, I said in the earlier conversation that India is a fabulous business built over many years with really strong leadership, really strong people across the line, right? And when I say leadership, I don't just mean at the chairperson, CEO, country heads. Even at the VP, senior VP level, at the ECD level, there are very, very strong people, right? Um, the strategy team, my God, with Prem and Ganpati and stuff, what a fantastic team that is, right? And the degree of support you have across the board is extremely strong. Hmm? Now, when I came to Singapore, and now when I look at the ASEAN markets, right? Different for me because I haven't grown up in these markets. I don't have the strength of relationships with the people that I did in India. So I have to earn that first, right? There are still strong people. There are strong people in every market in ASEAN, whether it is the Philippines or whether it is Thailand, whether it is Indonesia, Vietnam, Malaysia, Singapore. They're extremely talented, very, very strong people who run their businesses well, right? The next challenge for me is to be able to build my relationships with these people first, right? To be able to trust them and lean on them, just as I need to be able to get them to trust me and lean on me, right? Um, but it is different. It is different in the sense that India, for whatever it's worth, is a large country, but it's a single culture, right? Um, yes, we are different. Yes, we have, a multitude of states, a multitude of cultures, but as an organization, we operate at a single culture. Mm. Um, the ASEAN markets are very, very different, very different, right? They're different from a language perspective. They're different from a culture perspective. They're different from a team structure, quality of resources. Um, there is no single leadership team across ASEAN like we have in India, right? It is a fractured set of 6 countries that operate for whatever it's worth completely independently. Hmm. What I'm trying to bridge now is to find ways for us to collaborate, for us to really make the region shine by understanding what are the skills that we have across these 6 diverse markets that we can pull together. Hmm. Where do we have synergy? Where do we have strength? Where do we have specialist capability? What can we leverage from one market to the other, right? Who are the people that can spread across markets? Who are the people that are anchored in each market? And, we'll only focus on that market and the growth of the clients in the market, right? Which are the capabilities that we can take across markets? Where do we have strength of capability that is better in one market versus another? What can we leverage from that market or learn from that market, right? So it is a learning curve for me, but as much it is a learning curve for the leadership teams we have in each of these markets.
Recently at Cannes, Ogilvy Singapore did really, really well, winning 2 Grand Prix awards. Ogilvy was also named the Regional Network of the Year for Asia. I saw the Vaseline verified campaign as well. Really enjoyed it. Fantastic.
Yes.
As the leader of the organization, do you follow a method to the madness? Is everything on brief? Or like you were saying earlier, how Piyush used to simply pick up the phone and call clients and tell them his ideas for their business?
Okay. Last year at Cannes, we won our first Grand Prix. Okay. It was also on Vaseline. This year we won 2 Grand Prix and a titanium. And one of the first things that's happened is we've got competitive agency CEOs, industry in Singapore, celebrating it. Right, saying, listen, this is the first time Singapore won a Grand Prix was last year. The first time Singapore's won a titanium was this year. And it's fabulous, and let's celebrate as an industry, right? So I think um, there is a degree of pride in the industry as a whole when we win. Exactly the way, I mean, right now India is winning a lot, across the board. In Canada, you can feel the industry as a whole celebrating it. Multiple
32 this
agencies,
time, 32
yeah,
medals.
and everybody feels good about it. When I came to Singapore 3 years ago, we were a little down on our creative reputation, right? Spirits were dampened. We felt we were churning like a factory. Um, the organization as a whole, unlike my experience in India, wasn't pulling behind great work. Okay. I connected with everybody across the organization. We have lots of strong leaders here. We have regional teams. We have local clients. We have partnerships with VML. We have partnerships with Group M across different clients. I started talking to everyone saying, hey, what can we do? Right? What can we do to just lift the quality of work? My creative partner in Singapore is a guy named Nicholas Courant. Nick is fabulous as a creative leader. I love having him as a partner. And one of the things Nick told me early when I came in was that Singapore tends to track everybody's time on paid clients to such an extent that if you want to do proactive work, you need to do it quietly, on your free time, and everyone's really struggling just delivering on day-to-day work, and we have no time and no breathing space to do proactive creative stuff, right? And we said, okay, let's try and sort that. So, within a few months of coming here, I tried to set a vision for the office, right? And I said, here's what we'll do. We'll try and build a place that attracts great people who have fun doing the best work of their lives and growing together, right? And I tried to just put that in really simple words, right? So it was talent, which is great people. It was it was really coming to a culture, right? The whole space of culture. I just tried to put that down and having fun, right? So great people having fun, doing the best work of our lives. Doing the best work of our lives was one of the values that Ogilvy had written down across the world at that time, right? Saying, we'll all aim for that. And I said, okay, great, let's put that at the center, right? And if we do all of that, if we have the best people, if we're having fun, we're doing the best work of our lives, we will grow, right? And when we grow together. Mm. Um, and I try to get everyone to imbibe that in the office to say this is what we stand for, but we try to qualify it as well. We said this is what it means. Doing the best work of our lives, we said we will aim to have 8 cases at the end of every year that we're all extremely proud of, right? 8 pieces of work. And that's what Nick and I agreed. We said this is what we'll aim for. And we do it across clients. We do it across all clients, right? At that time, David Dahan was the head of the Unilever team in Singapore. And David and I spoke as well, and he shared with me his vision for Team Unilever, and his vision there clearly had, winning gold at Cannes, right? And I said, fantastic. Can I borrow that, and can we take, co-ownership of it across, everything, Singapore office, Unilever, all of that. Let's try and win, right? And again, we went to Nick and said, hey, push, right? Push on all counts. And to your earlier question, saying, did it emerge out of a brief? Did it come from proactive thinking? The truth is, at that time, we gave Nick the target, gave him the freedom to push for great work, and he pulled all of his people together and started pushing across different clients, right? We had a hotel client called Art Hotel Group. We had a whole bunch of stuff happening on Unilever. He was trying on Coca-Cola at that time. We tried on Colgate, right? And many of the local clients as well. There was work happening on Changi. There was work happening across other clients to say, hey, listen, how do we get to, at the end of the year, a battery of work that we're all really proud of at the office, right? And for me, it didn't make a difference if we win at Cannes or not. What I really wanted, what I still want every single day, is for all our people to be proud enough of the work they do to put it on their own social media handles. If I can get every team to do that, every single team, right, we'll be a fabulous agency. Hmm? Um, Now we did some fabulous work on Colgate. We did some fabulous work on Coke. We did some fabulous work on Unilever. We did some fabulous work on the Artel Group. At the end of the year, we had 8 to 10 cases that we were really proud of, and we became Campaign Asia's Agency of the Year in Singapore. And the following year, we went to Cannes, and we went with Artel, we went with Colgate, we went with Unilever, and Unilever won, right, on Vaseline. Not this year, I'm talking about last year, right? Last year we had cases from Artel, we had Unilever, we had Colgate, all fabulous cases, right? All I would award with the drop of a hat, right? Saying, here, take it and win, right? But Cannes is a lottery. I always feel like Cannes, sometimes is you get lucky, right? And we did on Vaseline. It was a fabulous case. It won the first Grand Prix, Glass Lion. Everybody was really happy. I remember David was happy, Archer was happy, Marco, who's one of the creative lead at the WPP Unilever team, Nick and the entire team, really, really happy, right? And it all stemmed from these, this sense that we want to do better and we want to win at Cannes, and we want, across the agency to win across, different clients and brands. At that time, there was another idea on Vaseline, which the client had rejected. Um, and it went through various iterations over a 2-year period to eventually become Vaseline verified and go out last year, right? And that's now won titanium, 2 Grand Prix, and full credit to the Unilever team. They've done a fabulous job. I've had jack shit to do with any of that work, right? Other than creating an environment in the office where people want to do great work and celebrate it, I haven't done a thing. It's all other human beings. Like I said, the most important people are the people who are at the front lines with clients doing this work. They're more important to me than anybody else in the organization, right? And they have. And now, if you go to everyone's social feeds, anyone who's touched Vaseline verified, anyone at all, touched it in any way, whether it's the Unilever team or the extended creative teams in the office or the influence team or the PR team, everybody's got it on their social profiles. And I love that. I love that they're feeling the joy of great work being celebrated all over the world and sharing it on their profiles, right? For me, the job is to get it beyond Unilever, for it to touch 5 clients, 6 clients, for everyone to feel it, right? And again, I don't mean everybody needs to win at Cannes. They don't, right? All we need is for everyone to feel proud enough of the work to put it on their own social handles. That's the joy of this business, to walk in every single day and say, I'm working on something that will make me proud 2 months down the line, 3 months down the line. There'll be a piece of work that I'll absolutely love, right? And I'll share it with my family, I'll share it with my friends, I'll put it on my social profile. That's the joy.
Pride is really infectious. And I want to touch upon the third lever you had spoken about, Kunal, which was making sure the agency makes money. There's a financial sense to it. Now, one of the great things about doing great work is getting the right kind of more business. Of course, you win awards, but there's a critical business development side to it to that as well. I want to understand what kind of processes do you have in place for lead generation, for client onboarding, and relationship management to ensure consistent business development.
Okay, I'm
And
I'm
what's
gonna
your mantra of it all?
yeah, I'm gonna say stuff that may get me fired, but here it is. We're shit at process. We're really shit at process, right? We're a creative company. We take great pride in quality of ideas. We take great pride in execution. We're shit at process. Okay. If you ask me hand on heart, your lead management system, it's crap. I mean, it's really crap. We exist in an industry where every single client gets put up for pitch every few years. And we all pitch, and we pitch in most markets without a fee. We're at the mercy of clients and of um, pitch consultants, right? Who line us up together and make us pitch, for business. And we're really shit at managing that process to our advantage, right? We're crap at it. Um, but we do put all our heart into every single pitch that we do when we walk into the pitch, because we're hugely emotional people, all of us, right? And we walk into pitches um, with all our heart put into work, into weeks of ideation on a client we've never met, on very often on categories we've never worked on. And we put ourselves out there saying, here's what we think, here's the idea, and we're more concerned most of the time about, do the clients like the idea? Do they believe in the idea? Do they like us as human beings? Is the chemistry good? Do they want to work with us? We're far more focused on all of that than on the business side of it, right? On how much should we charge clients, right? On that, we negotiate with procurement, and we're shit at it. We're really shit at it, right? We have some people in the organization who are good at it and who help us with negotiation, with procurement. Some of our finance partners are really good, really, really good at helping us through that, right? But 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 the front of the business, right? Me as the CEO, right? My creative partner, my strategy partner, my business heads, we're all hugely emotional people in a hugely emotional business, desperate to get people to love us for our ideas and for our chemistry and for everything we want to do for them, right? So we are naive, and we are emotional, and we're shit at process, right? Um, where it works for us, the reason we survive as a business and the reason we make money as a business is because we're good at what we do, right? We're good at the idea side of the business. We're good at the execution side of the business. We're good at actually sitting in the client saying, what's the problem you have? And can I help you solve it, right? We're actually good at saying, hey, you've got a crisis in market right now. We'll burn the midnight oil. We'll work through the weekends. We'll sit with you. We'll make sure we get through this together. We're good at all of that shit. What we're terrible at is monetizing it, right? And being able to say, okay, we will not do this battery of 20 pitches in the year, right? We will not line up with pitch consultants if there are 10 agencies involved, right? We will not share work before we've shared financials and agreed on financials, even in a pitch environment. Before we start, evaluating agencies on work, it's such a shit process that everybody works, everybody gets evaluated on the work, and at the end of that we start discussing money, right? At which point, you'll get told, hey, whatever you propose, 30% less than that, or 40%. And at that point, you've invested so much time and energy behind the whole process, right? And there's also, I find you walk into a pitch, a client will tell you it's a $10 million pitch. There's nothing to hold them to that, right? At the end of the pitch, you realize they've changed their mind and it's now worth $2 million, not 10, right? And that's what I'm saying. We're really shit at managing this entire process, but we do good work, and at the end of the day, clients respect that, and that's how we make money.
So, what you're telling me is that most of your NBD comes from word of mouth, which is a function of the quality of work done by you and your team. There's no process attached to NBD.
Well, there is. I mean, I'm being,
But okay.
I'm
Right.
being really,
Got
really
it.
blunt. I
Understood.
think there's
You're being
no
modest.
process and we're shit. There are a
Yeah.
lot of people who do a lot of good work in trying to manage our new business pipelines in every market. So let me apologize to everyone who's listening. If any of you are doing good work on your new business lead management, fabulous, keep doing it, right? I'm just saying, as an industry as a whole,
Yeah.
as an organization as a whole, we're not as good as we should be.
Absolutely. And you know, one of the things, for example, I keep noticing is scope creep, right? You sign up for something and suddenly you see expectations for more. You have to manage your project costs, your revenue streams, watch your profitability. So, from a business point of view, you're absolutely right that advertising is the greatest business. I keep telling my colleagues too. Every day you're learning about a new industry that you probably never even thought about, but because your new client or a new pitch around the corner is in that business, you need to learn it. You better get your sleeves up, and you know more about more businesses than most of your friends around. We are in this business for the passion, right? So how do you balance the need for premium clients with the risk of over servicing or underpricing, and what criteria do you use for client selection?
Okay, look, the reality is when we get into any business, we don't get in, we generally don't get into shit margin business. Okay. When we go through the procurement process, when we evaluate stuff, we only take on clients if we believe there is a there is a genuine connect. We're able to do good work for them, and we're able to make money at the end of it, right? Um, like I said in the beginning, one of the important pillars is having the best people in the business. You can't have and retain the best people in the business unless you're making money and you're able to pay them reasonably well, right? Because if not, they'll leave, and business will collapse if you don't have good people. Hmm? So you have to make money, and we do. We have many clients on which we make a reasonable amount of money, right? Many people in our industry would argue that we should be paid a lot more because we're responsible for a lot more success with clients. But the reality is you get paid what you're worth. And the premium you're able to command in the market. I still think as a company, we're able to command a reasonable premium in the market. Clients understand that when they come to us, there is a quality of resource that they're expecting. There is a quality of resource that we pay for in market, and they need to pay a certain amount of money to us for it. The issue happens in the course of the relationship, um, usually on scope creep, like you said, right? And there's time creep and there's scope creep. There's both, right? The time creep happens when we estimate a certain amount of time to work with a client on a certain project, but it ends up taking a lot more time. Even if the scope doesn't change, it just takes a lot more resource time, and then we make less money. Hmm? And the scope tree part of it is when we don't have clarity between us and the client upfront, really nail down on the detailing on the scope, right? When there is any room for the clients to misinterpret it, that's when we have scope creep, right? When clients say, "Hey, listen, I thought this is what you meant by the scope," or I thought this is what you meant by a campaign, right? Or I thought this is what you meant by X assets, right? So when that is not crystal clear, nailed down with everyone in the system, then scope creep becomes a real issue. And in both those cases, we end up losing money. But by and large, we're still a healthy, profitable business when we run it well. Hmm. When we do stupid stuff, or when we start losing clients and we're not able to manage our costs fast enough in line, then we lose money, and then the business becomes an issue. Hmm. But I think other than the fact that we're not great at managing the pitching process, and our ability to be fairly paid for the whole pitching process, um, we're okay. I think that's one place where we need to find a way to be reasonably compensated for the amount of time and money every agency puts in on a pitch, right? And that's something we need to come together as an industry on. There are a few markets where we do. For example, Malaysia, the whole industry has come together really well. Nobody pitches without a pitch fee. It's fantastic, and I'd love to see that replicated across more markets, right? But it requires the industry to come together with a degree of strength.
Just staying on that for a second more, Kunal, how do you ensure your agency's pricing reflects the true value and effort required? And what steps do you take to regularly review and adjust your rates, maybe?
Okay. We have a really strong finance team. I'm going to call them the commercial team more than finance, and they're pretty good at helping us scope well. Mm. But um, the business leads are the ones who really have their finger on the amount of time and the amount of resource it is going to take to deliver a given project, right? On a given client. Our business is so subjective, it is so wildly subjective that I could take the exact same project with the same deliverables across three different clients. And because of the nature of client and the process involved at the client's end, the amount of time and resource I would need to deliver the exact same project would be different across different clients, right? That's the problem with our business. When we scope, we tend to scope basis history, right? So we say on average to deliver a campaign with XYZ assets, we would need so many people in so many hours, right? Where that model becomes difficult is the nature of every client is different. The hierarchy, the processes within the client, the number of times you need to go back and forth inside a client system, the number of levels you need to take something through is so different across different clients that scoping model is not replicable from client to client. It is hugely different. The variations can make or break your profitability on a business just by not understanding the nature of that client, right? Which is why the client lead's role is really important in scoping to understand how is this client different and how is the usual model that you have for scope, the number of people, the number of hours for this campaign, how is it going to be different on this particular client, how is it going to be different on the next client, right? So it's a mix of the standardization of saying from history we know to deliver XYZ scope it's going to cost this much and these many hours, and adding the qualitative layer which the client leads put in to say on this particular client on this page this is how it's going to be different because our understanding from what we know of this client, from what we've heard in market, from what we've studied, is that they will need either 20% less hours or 40% more hours, right? So that process is in place in every office with the commercial leads, with the office head, and with the business leads.
I want to look a little bit into the future. How do you see artificial intelligence and digital platforms reshaping the future of advertising?
Okay, so first of all, I want to say thank you. And I want to say thank you because you managed to have a 1 hour conversation with me without using the word AI, right? Which I think is great. Fabulous. Yeah. So look, AI, I think, is a fabulous tool. It's impacting every part of our business. Mm. And it's making every part of our business better. Okay. And I'm using the word better with intent because it's not making stuff cheaper. It's not making stuff particularly more efficient. It's making it better and qualitatively better. Mm. And I think that's where the industry is getting lost. We're looking for efficiency through AI versus quality through AI. And I think we need to make that distinction quickly before it just becomes a way to save cost. Mm. Because that I think would be a mistake. Now, what are the parts of our business it is impacting? Our business starts, um, everything we do is subjective, right? Everything we do is what is the problem the brand is facing in market now, this month, this quarter, this year? How does the agency need to come together across all our capabilities, whether it's advertising, it's PR, it's influence, it's social, it's loyalty and CRM, it's MarTech, any part of our business. Those are all solutions, right? It starts with an understanding of the problem. What's the problem the brand's facing? What can we do? What's the full width of capabilities we can deploy to meet that problem head on to help the brand sell more than competitors and make more money? That's the goal, right? There's nothing else to our business. Now, the role of AI can impact every part of our business, from understanding the problem, from understanding the consumer environment, from looking at the problem through different lenses, from recommending different solutions, from evaluating those solutions within a market context, to creative ideation, creative execution. It can make everything in that process better. For me, I was chatting with with someone at work the other day, and saying the more we look at AI as a really sharp, intelligent assistant that each of us has access to, and the more we look at it from the point of view of making our own thinking and our own execution better, right? Versus outsourcing tasks completely, to say everything that I do today, can I make it better with the use of AI? Can I make it sharper? Can I make it stronger? Right? So, problem identification, right? It's easy for us today to have a conversation with an AI tool to say, hey, here's how I see the problem. Look at it through different lenses. Tell me what I'm missing, right? Re-articulate the problem for me, right? Look at the data I have available. Share the data with the AI tool, right? Um, Sharpen the problem for me. Give me different ways to articulate the problem, different ways to look at it, different ways to evaluate it, right? Using that to get to a sharper problem, and then saying, okay, now let's talk solutions. Let's talk communication solutions. Let's talk consumer targeting solutions. Let's talk messaging solutions. Let's talk platform solutions. Within each platform, let's talk about which solutions are likely to work better than the other. Tell me why, right? All of this is conversation with an AI assistant to be able to sharpen your own thinking and to make your own thinking better, and saying, okay, here's what I think the problem is. Here's what I think the solution is. Testing that with clients, getting an approval on that, moving ahead with that, and then getting into execution. As you get into execution, again, working with a strong AI assistant to say, hey, here's the problem I have. Now give me 3 ways to attack this problem from a communication lens, right? What's the messaging I can take to, to address it? Look at 5 options of the messaging. Right? Look at different consumer segments. Look at how each of those segments will react to that messaging, right? Then look at articulation of copy, then look at referencing of images. And there's a lot you can do with the tool, but at each stage it's not reducing your work, right? All it is doing in a beautiful way is helping you get deeper into a problem, deeper into solution, look at different options, and make the work better at every single stage. Make the articulation of the problem better, make the evaluation of the solution better, test it better with different audiences. Look at better ways to generate real communication ideas, look at better ways to generate copy. But then you still need the individual at every single stage to evaluate and say, okay, here's what I think. At the end of this conversation with an AI tool, here's what I think you should do. Because it's
Yeah.
it, it's not making anything cheaper, at least not for me right now.
I read something very interesting about AI in our business the other day. It said when you'll command AI to start thinking for you, it will do that instantly, right? But so far, AI has not developed the ability to stop at the right moment. That stayed with me, and I found that as an interesting observation.
I'm not sure I agree with that, because whatever you feed it, it gives you a response very quickly, and it's able to limit its thinking to say, okay, here's 5 options, right?
It was more relating to emotions, Kunal, and how there is still some distance to go as far as understanding of human emotions is concerned.
But I don't know. I think it's useful, even in the emotional context of thinking of ideas that can tug at different emotional levers. I think it can. It's capable, right? The quality of those ideas is still weak for me when I see what it generates compared to what any half decent creative person can generate. But I think it can be a great tool to help creative people on that process, right? For them to filter their thinking, for them to say, I had 2 ideas. Let me see if the AI has 5 more. They may be crap, or there may be one more out of those 5 that I like, right? Or there may be 4 out of 5 that I like, and it'll get better over time. Hmm? Um, but to me, that the tool can be used to make stuff better. If we focus on cheaper, then we're going to start getting crap. because then what you in the cheaper exercise, what you're doing is trying to remove more human filters. You're saying, can I work without a strategist, right? Can the account management person just work with AI and do all strategy? To me, that is an industry failing. If we get to that point, right? Or can I work without an account management person? Can I use it for minutes? Then what you're doing is saying all an account management person does is take minutes in a meeting, which I think is such a shit oversimplification. I think account management people play a critical role in the organization, holding clients, agency, 150 jobs
Yeah.
together. And managing everything through a complex process where things can go wrong every single day, and taking something from the beginning to the end and getting it out. AI cannot help you through that shit, right? You need
Yeah.
human beings.
Yeah. I mean, account management is not postman or postwoman. They
Yeah,
are
but I'm
100 times. Yeah.
the problem with saying AI can be used for efficiency to bring costs down is you will look at AI either reducing account management or reducing strategy or reducing creative human beings in any one of those spaces, right? The minute you do that, you risk getting more and more mediocrity out, right? Because to me, the more time we spend as human beings with AI thinking through stuff, the better stuff we'll get. If we look at AI as a way of saving time, because the only way you can save time is when you give it a question, and whatever it throws up, you take and you pass on to the next stage, right? When you do that, you'll get shit.
I think AI can be useful in doing some entry level research work.
Maybe it'll make, it's like saying, hey, before Google, when Google came, or everybody in the business could have saved a lot of time by searching for stuff and getting the information they
An
need fast.
encyclopedia, open the
Well,
encyclopedia and
yes,
get stuff.
yes, it does. But the other problem is work fills the time you have, right? Yes, you'll save a little more time on this, and then you'll spend more time on something else. You'll spend more time ideating. So it'll make us better because it'll make certain tasks easier to
Absolutely.
do, right? But if you start saying eliminate roles from the system because this is making stuff faster, which is the mathematical way to look at it, right? You will get crap work.
What emerging trends in advertising and marketing are you most excited about for the Indian and ASEAN markets, besides AI that we have just discussed?
There are two dominant spaces of, um, actually three, let's say three, right? One is something we've been grappling with for the last 10 years, right? Which is the digitization of everything we do. Everything moving from traditional platforms to more digital platforms, specifically more social platforms, right? Including commerce now. A lot of commerce is moving off client platforms, large aggregators, to social platforms. So where clients would spend a ton of money behind an Amazon or a Lazada or a Shopee in the last 5 years, a, a lot of that effort is now moving towards social selling, right? A lot of that is moving towards influencers, and so that is one piece. The digitization of everything we do, in a sense, the everything moving to social platforms. Within social platforms, commerce becomes key. Within social platforms, the role of influencers becoming more and more important, right? So that's one big shift. Obviously, AI. I mean, I think disproportionate in terms of conversation right now. Just the amount of conversation behind AI, is disproportionate to its impact. And again, I'm saying, to me, the more we're able to come to terms with AI helping us get better, it can, and it is even today, right? In every part of our business, it can help us get better. If we shift that argument to AI making us more efficient and making stuff cheaper, it's a complete cop out, and it'll ruin us as a business. I think if we reduce to one creative person, one account management person working with AI tools and servicing clients, I think this industry will go to complete shit. Mm. Where it can really benefit us is if we keep our smartest people, get them to work with AI and get better, deliver better solutions to clients. That to me is the goal.
Staying on that, what advice would you give to young professionals aspiring to build a career in creative leadership or join the advertising business, Kunal?
Okay, so here's the advice I'd give, right? It is a beautiful business. Um, it's a business where you learn something new every day, every week, every month. You get new challenges, new categories, new brands, new clients, uh, new problems, every single week. And it is beautiful in that sense. There is no industry I can think of that challenges a human being as much as our industry, because a lot of it comes to you. It comes to your desk, comes to your feet, saying, "Here's the problem. Give me a solution." Right? And that I think is the best part of our business. Um, the part of the one thing that complements that is you get surrounded by fantastic human beings, people with a great amount of talent, a great amount of creativity, and a great amount of madness to be in this industry where you get thrown problems all the time and you're expected to learn, understand them, and deliver. Um, the third thing I tell them, and this is where I think the AI piece is important for anyone new coming into the business, right? Is the tools are changing so fast. The tools that help you do your job better, right? Um, yeah, and the tools change every decade, but now they're changing every year. Hmm? Um, but I think it is an advantage, because when, as a young person, when you get into the business, you have the advantage of having access to tools that most people in our industry have not grown up on. They're not native to, right? So if you can spend your time mastering those tools and yet maintain a degree of independence of thought, of the ability to say the tool is the tool, what I bring to the table is still independence of thought. It is still creativity. It is the ability to shape an idea, but I have better tools available to me now, and I can get better at using those tools than anybody else in the business. So learn the tools, but don't become a slave to them. Because if you get into the business thinking because you know AI, or because you know 5 different AI tools more than anybody else, you'll be better than everybody else in the business. The answer is you will not. You will be able to use the tool better, but all you will be able to spew out is what the tool gives you. What will differentiate you is your ability to have great independent thought, your love for creativity, and your ability to take the ideas that the tool gives you, sharpen them, make them better, and put them in front of clients, right? So don't lose track of that.
Brilliant. Cannot thank you enough to spend your Sunday with me. What a terrific chat. Thank you for sharing your experiences, Kunal. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Vishal. It was fun. Thank you.
And that's a wrap on this episode of the Indian Ad Geek. Absolutely loved my conversation with Kunal. Next week, get ready for the Indian Ad Geek, as well as a deep dive into passenger experience with one of the world's leading authorities. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to hit subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who might enjoy it. The Indian Ad Geek streams on all major podcast apps. I am at Vishal1 Mehra on X. And until next time, keep your creative antennas tuned, your data dashboards ready, and your ad geek flag flying high. Stay quirky, stay curious, and keep geeking out.